I married a man I didn't love to escape the woman I loved too much. It was supposed to be a clean break, a new life where I could finally be normal and safe from the intensity that had consumed me for years. But when my ex-lover showed up at my engagement party and convinced me she should be my maid of honor, I realized escaping her was never going to be that simple. Before I tell you how my wedding became the site of the most complicated emotional situation of my life, let me ask, what city are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below and subscribe to help this channel grow. Your support means everything. My name is Charlotte Rivera, and for 5 years I was in love with Adriana Santos. We met in college, fell fast and hard, and built a relationship that was passionate, intense, and ultimately destructive. We fought constantly, broke up and got back together dozens of times, consumed each other in ways that felt romantic but were actually toxic. By the time I was 25, I was exhausted. The final breakup happened after a particularly brutal fight where she accused me of not being committed enough and I accused her of being controlling. We said things we couldn't take back and I walked away knowing I couldn't do it anymore. I needed peace, stability, a life that didn't feel like an emotional roller coaster. That's when I met James. James was a colleague, kind and steady and completely unlike anyone I'd ever dated. He was thoughtful, predictable in the best way, never raised his voice or created drama. We became friends first, and he knew about my history with women, knew about Adriana, and the chaos I was trying to escape. 6 months after my final breakup with Adriana, James asked me to dinner. "I know your situation is complicated," he said. "But Charlotte, I care about you. If you consider dating me, I think we could build something good together. Something stable." I should have said no. I should have been honest that I wasn't attracted to men, that stability wasn't the same as love. But I was so tired of the chaos, so desperate to prove I could have a normal life, that I said yes. Dating James was easy in ways my relationship with Adriana never had been. No drama, no fights, no intensity that left me drained. We had pleasant dinners, watched movies, talked about work and hobbies. It was calm and safe and completely lacking in passion, but I told myself that was okay. Passion had nearly destroyed me. Calm was what I needed. My family loved James. My conservative parents, who'd barely tolerated my relationship with Adriana, were thrilled I was dating a successful man. My friends said I seemed happier, more stable. Everyone supported this relationship except the voice in my head that whispered I was lying to myself. 8 months into dating James, he proposed. I should have said no. Instead, I said yes, convincing myself that choosing safety over passion was the mature, responsible thing to do. Planning the wedding felt surreal. I was organizing the rest of my life with a man I cared about but didn't love romantically, committing to a future that felt safe but empty. But I pushed down the doubts, told myself I was making the right choice. Then Adriana found out. She showed up at my apartment one evening, 3 months before the wedding. I opened the door and there she was, looking exactly as I remembered, and my heart did that painful flip it always did when I saw her. "You're getting married," she said without preamble. "How did you know?" "Mutual friends." "Social media. Does it matter?" She pushed past me into the apartment. "Charlotte, what are you doing?" "Moving on with my life." Something I should have done years ago. She turned to look at me, and I saw genuine pain in her expression. "By marrying a man you don't love, that's your solution?" "I care about James. He's good for me. He's safe." "That's not the same thing." She moved closer. "Charlotte, I know I screwed up. I know our relationship was messy and I contributed to that. But marrying someone you're not in love with to avoid dealing with us, that's not fair to anyone. There is no us anymore." "We're done, Adriana." "We've been done. Then why do you look at me like that?" She reached out, cupping my face. "Why does your breath catch when I'm near you? Why are you shaking right now?" I pulled away. "You need to leave. Not until you admit the truth. You're not marrying James because you love him. You're marrying him because you're scared. Scared of how much you feel for me. Scared of the intensity. Scared of admitting what you really want. What I want is peace. Something you never gave me. What I gave you was honesty. Raw, messy, real honesty. With James, you're playing a role. She stepped back. But fine. If you want to marry him, I'll support you. In fact, I want to be your maid of honor. I stared at her. That's insane. Is it? I'm one of your oldest friends. I've known you longer than almost anyone. If this marriage is really what you want, let me stand beside you while you make that choice. Her eyes held a challenge. Unless you're afraid to have me that close because you know it might make you question everything. I should have said no. Should have maintained boundaries and kept her out of this new life I was building. But some self-destructive part of me agreed, maybe to prove I was over her, maybe because I wanted her there despite everything. Fine. Be my maid of honor. But Adriana, you have to respect that I'm marrying James. No sabotage, no drama. I promise. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I just want you to be happy, Charlotte. Even if it's not with me. Having Adriana as my maid of honor was torture. She attended dress fittings, helped plan the bridal shower, organized the bachelorette party. She was charming to James, friendly with my parents, the perfect supportive friend. But in private moments, she'd look at me with questions I couldn't answer. During a dress fitting, with just the two of us in the room, she watched me in the mirror. You look beautiful. Thank you. Do you feel beautiful? Do you feel like yourself in that dress? I looked at my reflection, at the white gown that represented a life I was choosing out of fear rather than desire. I feel like I'm playing dress up. Then why are you doing this? Because I'm tired, Adriana. Tired of chaos and drama and relationships that consume me. James offers me peace. He offers you numbness. That's not the same thing. She adjusted my veil gently. Charlotte, you're one of the most passionate people I know. You feel things deeply, love intensely, live fully. Marrying someone's safe so you don't have to feel anymore, that's not living. That's hiding. Maybe hiding is what I need. Or maybe you just need to find someone who matches your intensity without making it destructive. She met my eyes in the mirror. Someone who's learned from past mistakes and wants to do better. The implication hung between us. Are you saying you've changed? I'm saying I spent the last year in therapy working through my issues. I'm saying I understand now that loving intensely doesn't have to mean loving unhealthily. I'm saying if you gave me another chance, I'd show you that we could have passion without chaos. She paused. But if you truly love James, if this is what you really want, I'll stand beside you at that altar and support your choice. The weeks before the wedding passed in a blur. Adriana was there for everything, the perfect maid of honor, while privately making me question every choice I'd made. James, sweet and oblivious, thanked her for being such a good friend to me. 2 nights before the wedding, Adriana asked me to meet her for coffee. One last conversation before you become Mrs. James Anderson. We sat across from each other in a quiet cafe. She looked at me seriously. I need to tell you something, and then I'll never bring it up again. I'm still in love with you. I never stopped. Watching you plan this wedding has been the hardest thing I've ever done. But I did it because I wanted to prove I could support you even when it killed me. My throat tightened. Adriana, I'm not asking you to leave James. I'm not asking for anything. I just need you to know that you are loved deeply and completely by someone who sees all of you and wants all of you. Not just the calm parts. She reached across the table, taking my hand. If you marry James tomorrow, I'll celebrate with you. If you decide you can't go through with it, I'll be here. Either way, I love you. I couldn't speak. Everything I'd been suppressing for months rose to the surface. I'm scared. I know. What we had before, it almost destroyed me. I know that too. And I take responsibility for my part in that. But Charlotte, we were kids learning how to love. We made mistakes. That doesn't mean we can't do better now. I pulled my hand back. I need to think. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to James, this good man who deserved someone who loved him completely, and faced the truth I'd been avoiding. I didn't love him. I was using him as a shield against my own feelings, against the intensity that terrified me. The morning of the wedding, I stood in my dress, surrounded by bridesmaids, while Adriana helped with final touches. Everyone else stepped out for a moment, leaving us alone. Last chance to run, she said softly, attempting humor. What if I'm making a mistake? She met my eyes. Then don't make it. Charlotte, it's not too late. You don't have to go through with this. Everyone's here. My family, his family, 200 guests. None of that matters if you're about to commit to a life you don't want. She took my hands. I'll support whatever you decide. If you walk down that aisle, I'll stand beside you and smile. If you want to leave, I'll help you escape. Just please, be honest with yourself about what you really want. The ceremony began. I walked down the aisle, Adriana following as my maid of honor. James stood at the altar looking happy and nervous. Everything was perfect except for the truth screaming inside me. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Adriana stayed silent, honoring her promise. But when he asked if I took James as my husband, I looked at this good man and knew I couldn't lie anymore. I'm sorry, I said, voice breaking. I can't. James, I'm so sorry, but I can't marry you. The chaos that followed was everything I've been trying to avoid. My mother crying. Guests murmuring, James looking devastated and confused. I ran from the altar with Adriana following me. We ended up in a storage room, me still in my wedding dress, both of us breathing hard. I couldn't do it, I gasped. I couldn't commit my life to someone I don't love. I'm proud of you. She pulled me into her arms. That took real courage. I destroyed everything. My relationship with James, my family's expectations, 200 people's day. You chose honesty over fear. That's not destruction. That's bravery. I pulled back to look at her. I'm still scared. Of us, of intensity, of getting hurt again. Me too. But Charlotte, being scared and being brave aren't opposites. Being brave means doing something even though you're scared. She tucked my hair behind my ear. I'm not asking for promises or commitments. I'm just asking for a chance to show you that we can build something better than what we had before. What if we fail again? Then at least we'll have tried. At least we'll know we gave it our best shot. She smiled. But I don't think we'll fail. I think we'll fight sometimes, feel deeply sometimes, challenge each other constantly. But I also think we'll love each other with everything we have and build something real. I kissed her then, still in my wedding dress, choosing passion over safety, intensity over numbness, truth over fear. The aftermath was messy. I apologized to James, who eventually forgave me and moved on to someone who could love him properly. My parents took months to accept my choice. Some friends supported me, others didn't. But through all of it, Adriana was there, proving through consistent action that she'd meant what she said about doing better. We rebuilt our relationship slowly, with therapy and honest communication and commitment to healthy patterns. It wasn't always easy. We still felt things intensely, still had passionate disagreements. But we learned to fight fairly, to communicate clearly, to love each other without consuming each other. 2 years after I left James at the altar, Adriana proposed. For real this time, with love instead of fear as the foundation. Charlotte Rivera, you're the bravest person I know. You walked away from safety to choose truth. You gave me a second chance I didn't deserve. You taught me that love doesn't have to be destructive to be real. She pulled out a ring. Will you marry me? Will you build a life with me that's passionate and healthy and completely, honestly ours? I said yes through tears. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony with people who genuinely supported us. No drama, no doubts, just 2 women choosing each other with full hearts and open eyes. Looking back, I understand why I tried to marry James. Fear is powerful, and choosing numbness over pain feels rational when you're hurting. But hiding from intensity isn't the same as finding peace. Real peace comes from being yourself fully, loving authentically, choosing courage over comfort. Adriana became my maid of honor at a wedding that never happened. But in doing so, she showed me what real support and love looked like. She stood beside me knowing it might mean watching me marry someone else. And she did it anyway because she loved me enough to want my happiness, even at her own expense. If you're still watching, thank you. Subscribe and comment about a time you chose truth over comfort. Have you ever walked away from something safe because it wasn't right? Share your stories. Because sometimes the person we're running from is the person we're supposed to run toward. Sometimes safety is just fear in disguise. Sometimes the wedding that doesn't happen is more important than the one that does. I tried to escape my ex-lover by marrying a man. Instead, she became my maid of honor, stood beside me at my almost wedding, and showed me that the intensity I feared was actually the passion I needed. We didn't need to destroy each other to love deeply. We just needed to grow up and do better. From ex-lovers to maid of honor to wives. That's our messy, complicated, beautiful story. And I wouldn't change any of it.